Yeah, yeah. Ball so hard, you better believe me, it's scary. It's basketball at the bar with Calvin and Barry. So put a tip in the jar, cause these dudes can really fill it up. Whether it's buckets you need or just a beer in a cup. We're here for fresh conversations and some delicious libations. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. My boys got you covered like you being guarded by payers. From the glove to the claw and everyone else in between. Calvin and Barry got everything that you need. For sure. So sit back, relax, because we're starting the show. It's basketball at the bar. Grab your drinks and let's go. Yeah. Grab a drink and let's go. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Calvin and Barry. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Let's get it.
What's up, ballers? Welcome back to the bar, where the takes are hot and the drinks are cold. There's no dress code, and you can take us wherever you go. So pull up a stool, drop a like, and don't forget to subscribe. This is Basketball at the Bar. Grab your drinks, and let's go. Welcome in, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. It is Wednesday, October 12th. And this is the Hair of the Dog morning show. We go over all the NBA news of the day. We're going to touch on last night's games. We're going to give some previews of today's games. We're going to talk about some injury updates on some players around the NBA. And we got a lot to talk about today in very little time. So let's go ahead and get started. If you were watching the Golden State Warriors game last night, you saw they won that game. We'll go over that a little bit later on the show today. However, the big news was the Steve Kerr interview at halftime, alluding to an announcement at the end of the game. And at his post-game press conference, Steve Kerr announced that Draymond Green would be fined. He would not be suspended by the team. He is expected to return to practice tomorrow, Thursday, and he will play in their final preseason game on Friday. An interesting turn of events. I think a lot of people were expecting some kind of suspension or something a little bit bigger than a fine. We know that Draymond has stepped away from the team for a few days to let the team quote unquote heal, but he should be back tomorrow. Steve Kerr made it very apparent that Jordan Poole was involved in this decision making. Steph Curry was involved. I know Kevon Looney was big and instrumental in this thing. And I think Steve Kerr himself, after being punched in the face by Michael Jordan in practice, had a little bit to say as they went on to set the record 72-10 that season and won an NBA championship. So it definitely didn't derail their season. I think that was kind of his main point here was, Jordan, we know you're upset. This was not acceptable. But as long as Draymond decides to move forward and can apologize, put this in the past, we have a good chance at repeating as NBA champions. So honestly, in my opinion, I think this was a bad move. I respect Steve Kerr. I respect the Golden State Warriors, but I don't think this was enough. So unfortunate in my opinion, but hey, the Warriors want to move on. So we will see what happens there. All right, so we had 5 games yesterday. First off, the Oklahoma City take on the Detroit Pistons. Oklahoma City won this game 115-99. Let's take a look here at the box score. My guy Lou Dort, 16 points for him. Same with Jamal Williams, 16 points, 16 for Josh Giddey. And some bench production as well. Darius Bazley, 15 points off the bench. Gorgie Dang, haven't heard that in a while. Or sorry, this is Gorgie's brother, young player, 13 points for him and 11 points as well. Let's take a look here at the Detroit. Oh, and sorry, just to throw out there real quick, SGA is still not available, still dealing with the left knee sprain. We'll give an update on that here in a second. And as you probably know, Chet Holmgren is out for the entire season. Really, really unfortunate. All right, let's talk about the Detroit Pistons here. Marvin Bagley unfortunately gets injured in this game 1 minute in. We'll give an update on that here in a second. Saddiq Bey, 19 points in 28 minutes, leads all the starters for the Detroit Pistons in this game. Cade Cunningham, 10 points for him, and 11 for Jaden Ivey. Corey Joseph, 11 points off the bench, and 20 points, 7 assists for Killian Hayes, playing 27 minutes in this game. Great game for him. As I mentioned yesterday, I wasn't really looking forward to this game, right? You do have a lot of young talent, but both of these teams are basically fighting in the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. So I'm not expecting myself to be watching a lot of these games this season. Sure, I'll be tuning in, watching some of these exciting young players, but I'm probably not going to be watching a ton of Thunder or Piston games from start to finish. All right, let's talk about the second game of the day. We had the Memphis Grizzlies taking on the Orlando Magic. Orlando wins this game 109-105. Let's take a look here at the box score. For the Grizzlies, 23 points for Ja Morant in 32 minutes. It's good to see him getting back into the flow here. Desmond Bane, a huge game, 33 points. 11 of 18 from the field and 4 of 6 from three-point range in 32 minutes. 10 points for Dillon Brooks. And unfortunately, the Memphis Grizzlies lose this game. Not much bench production for them. Brendan Clark, 7 points, leads the bench scores for them. As far as the Orlando Magic goes, Paulo Banchero, great game for him. 17 points, 9 rebounds in 27 minutes. Franz Wagner, 14 and 10 in 30 minutes. Wendell Carter, another great game for him. The dude has been absolutely starring here in the preseason. 18 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, showing his versatility. 8 of 13 from the field and 1 of 3 from three-point range. If he continues to play like this, the Bulls might be questioning themselves whether that trade was actually a good deal for them or not. And I think he's definitely going to help the Orlando Magic win some basketball games this year. 12 points for Cole Anthony and 17 for Terrence Ross. Good to see the young Orlando Magic players getting some run here and playing well. I have a lot of hope for this Orlando team. As I mentioned, over the past few years, we've seen them go through a rebuild. We've seen them deal with unfortunate injuries to guys, especially their star player in Jonathan Isaac. Mo Bamba not being Mo Bamba yet. So exciting to see them play well here. I think this is going to be a fun season for Magic fans. Not sure where they'll rank here in the standings. Maybe they could make it into that play-in tournament, but just excited to see them, kind of take the next step here on this journey. I love what they're building here in Orlando. All right, let's talk about the next game of the day. And this was the Milwaukee Bucks at the Chicago Bulls. Chicago wins 127-104. Basically, the entire Bucks team did not play in this game. They just returned from Abu Dhabi. They're probably tired and resting. Look at this team, right? You recognize any of these? I mean, you have Jordan Nwora, 25 points for him. Not many other recognizable names on this team at the moment, as they all did sit out from returning from that trip abroad. Unfortunate Milwaukee 0-4 in the preseason. Not that really predicts success for the regular season, but for a team with high hopes, you want to see them at least get a win or two here in the preseason, something to build off of. But I'm sure they will be ready for the regular season. As far as the Chicago Bulls go, we see Patrick Williams take another step forward, 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in 32 minutes. Vucevic, 17 points and 11 rebounds, 15 for Kobe White. No Zach LaVine in this game. Unfortunately, we're still missing Lonzo Ball, and they're trying to figure out what exactly the point guard position is going to look like until he returns. 13 points for Goran Dragic off the bench. And then a guy that I'm really high on, Andre Drummond. I thought he was a great offseason acquisition for them to help shore up the paint. 16 points and 9 rebounds in 18 minutes. Great game from him. Bulls win 127-104. The fourth game of the day, we had the San Antonio Spurs take on the Utah Jazz. The Spurs win 111-104. Let's take a look here at the box score. All right, you can take a look here at the Spurs here. Keldon Johnson, 22 points for 24 for Devin Vassell, and 13 points for Tyus Jones. Excuse me. This is a pretty wild Spurs team, right? We're so used to seeing this team in the playoffs with Hall of Famers on the roster. They end up trading, their star guard to the Atlanta Hawks, this offseason. So we'll see how that situation works out. I think this team is fighting for a top pick in the NBA draft to get either Scoot Henderson or Victor Wembanyama. So, unfortunately, the Spurs, I don't think are competing much this season. Speaking of teams not competing, the Utah Jazz are also on my list here, right? You have 18 points, 10 rebounds for Lauri Markkanen, 12 points for Jordan Clarkson. We got to see Colin Sexton play 7 points in 21 minutes. And we got to see the new replacement center for Rudy Gobert, Walker Kessler, 12 points and 7 rebounds in 25 minutes. Like I said, both of these teams are probably going to be on the bottom of the Western Conference this season. I'm interested to see what happens with a lot of these Utah Jazz veterans like Jordan Clarkson, Lauri Markkanen, Rudy Gay. What happens with these guys? Do they get moved to contenders this season? Or, does Utah just kind of play out this year and go from there? The final game of the day, we had the Portland Trailblazers take on the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors win 121-98. Let's take a look here at the box score. No Damian Lillard in this game. We got to see Grant play, 9 points and 2 rebounds in 19 minutes. 16 points for Yusuf Nurkic and 12 points for Anthony Simons in his starting role. And 17 points for Shaedon Sharpe, 7 of 19 shooting from the field, played 38 minutes. That's a ton of minutes, right? He almost doubled everyone else that played in this game. As far as the Golden State Warriors go, they benched their top 7 players, which is pretty wild to think about, right? No Draymond Green, no Andre Iguodala, no Andrew Wiggins, no Kevon Looney, no Steph Curry, no Klay Thompson, no Jordan Poole. They still score 131 points in this game, and they're able to throw out a bunch of young guys, right? JaMychal Green, maybe not as young as you might think, but 20 points for him, 8 rebounds, 8 of 10 shooting, 4 or 5 from three-point range. We got to see Jonathan Kuminga put up 10 points in this game. Dante DiVincenzo, only 2 points, but 10 assists and 7 rebounds in this game. Did not shoot well, 0-4 from the field. Moses Moody, 20 points in this game, 6 of 12 shooting from the field and 3 of 6 from three-point range. And then James Wiseman, I'm a big James Wiseman fan, 18 points, 7 rebounds in 18 minutes. Warriors get the W. They don't even need any of those starters. Pretty wild day of games on Tuesday. I had some fun watching them all. I hope you did too. All right, let's dive here into the news of the day. So Marvin Bagley was injured in the very first minute of that Detroit Pistons game. Quite unfortunate for him. The number 2 former overall pick continues to deal with injuries that have really slowed down his NBA career. The Pistons forward suffers a right knee sprain, is helped off the floor, did not look good. So hearing that he's only sidelined or potentially going to be sidelined for 3 to 4 weeks is good news if you're a Detroit Pistons fan and if you're Marvin Bagley. Unfortunately, you're continuing to deal with these injuries, and they just gave him a contract extension this offseason. It wasn't the huge one that he wanted, but he did get a contract extension. He will miss the start of the regular season. Hopefully he can come back strong in about a month or so. All right, this is something I missed yesterday, did not report on it, but on Monday's game, LaMelo Ball gets injured. He sprains his ankle. It is revealed to be a grade 2 ankle sprain. He will miss the start of the regular season, but is not expected to be out a ton of time, only a week or two or at this moment. So he'll be reevaluated in a week. We'll figure out where he's at. But unfortunate for the Charlotte Hornets, after losing Miles Bridges this offseason, having some other drama going on with the team, losing guys like Montrezl Harrell, LaMelo Ball will miss the start of the NBA season for them. All right, let's talk a little bit about Evan Mobley. I talked about him last week. He was injured. He is progressing very well from the ankle sprain, and the Cavaliers will not rule him out for the remainder of the preseason. So that means we could see him in the next couple days playing, getting back on the court and getting ready for the regular season. Good news for the Cleveland Cavaliers. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Thunder and SGA. I know he's been dealing with a knee injury, has basically missed the entirety of the preseason and training camp dealing with that injury, but he's looking good. He potentially could play in the season opener. He has not been ruled out, but he's really looking to have a step forward this season. This article kind of goes over some stats for SGA, basically talking about, once he arrived in Oklahoma City, he's only played 91 of their 154 regular season games. So he has missed a ton of games with the team. 2 years ago, he averaged 23.7 points per game. Last season, he averaged 24.5. And then after the All-Star break, he averaged 30 points on 54% shooting in 13 games and scored 30 points at least 10 times. So he is definitely, entering his prime here. Like I said, it's unfortunate that the Thunder are dealing with an injury to their top prospect in Chet Holmgren. I know he'd love to be out there this season, but they have a ton of draft picks. They're probably going to be in the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, and SGA will continue to grow this season with guys like Josh Giddey and Lou Dort. I love what the Oklahoma City are doing. This rebuild might take a little bit longer than some people anticipated. However, they are definitely looking like the Oklahoma City Thunder when they had a young James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Durant. We'll see if they can keep them all together this time. All right, let's talk about 5 players with big contract implications this season. That's right, all 5 of these players are entering the last year of their deal, some making quite a bit of money, some trying to get paid. Let's talk about these 5 players and see, what they can do this season to help improve their offseason worth. First up, Russell Westbrook. Everybody's been talking about Russell Westbrook this offseason, whether he was the right addition for the LA Lakers last year or not. They did not make the playoffs last year, which was a huge disappointment. I think he's making like $47 million or something in the last year of his contract. I think he's definitely going to take a huge pay cut on his next deal. People are even talking about how he could potentially be out of the league if the Lakers trade him to a team like the Utah Jazz, a la what happened to Allen Iverson. He was averaging over 20 points per game and 2 years later was out of the league and playing overseas. I think this definitely needs to be a bounce back year for Russell Westbrook. Personally, if I'm the Lakers, I'm trading him to bring in some more shooting and some more depth because that team's bench has been trash so far. We know Darvin Ham is a big fan of Russell Westbrook, so maybe he can rebuild his stock. The Lakers definitely need to make the playoffs and need to do some damage if Russ has any hope of re-signing with the Lakers. Outside of that, I don't know how many teams are really going to offer him a contract this offseason, right? If you're a bad team, he's going to help you win games, which is not what you want because you want better draft picks. If you're a contender, can he help you win games? I'm not really sure at this point. So this season is definitely going to be huge for Russell Westbrook. Next up, James Harden. James Harden chose to be a free agent this past summer, and the league is still investigating that choice because of his connections with Daryl Morey in the Philadelphia 76ers. He opted out of almost $50 million to re-sign with the Sixers and make things work salary cap wise so they could bring in guys like Daniel House and PJ Tucker. James Harden's now 33 years old. He has a player option next summer. So if he has a huge year, MVP quality season, he could opt out of that and sign a huge contract with Philadelphia. I think they're going to be a great team this season, and I'm really big on James Harden and Joel Embiid combo. So we'll keep an eye on that for sure. Next up is Kyrie Irving. Man, after getting swept in the first round of the playoffs, I think last season, being a disappointment was an understatement for the Brooklyn Nets. They dealt with all sorts of drama, right? Around James Harden, around Kyrie Irving. They brought in Ben Simmons. He didn't even want to play. We've had some positive notes here, right? It doesn't look like there's going to be a vaccine mandate so far this year for the NBA. Ben Simmons has suited up in the preseason. Hasn't looked good in some Instagram videos, airballing some shots, but he has played this preseason and has played pretty well. Kyrie Irving is entering in the last year of his deal. The Brooklyn Nets were reluctant to offer him a contract extension after all the drama that's happened around him over the past few seasons. So this is a big year for Kyrie. The Nets need to do some damage in the playoffs if they have any hopes of bringing back Kyrie. And it'll be interesting to see if he stays with the Nets or if he moves on to sign with a different team. There's a lot of baggage coming with Kyrie at this point. He is getting older. He's dealt with a ton of injuries as well. So I'm not sure if he's worth a max contract at this point. This season is going to be huge for Kyrie Irving. Next up is Josh Hart. After being traded to the Portland Trailblazers from the New Orleans Pelicans for CJ McCollum last year, Josh Hart has been bouncing around the league, right? He started with the Lakers, ended up with the Pelicans. Now he's with the Blazers. The Blazers want to do some damage with their quick rebuild this year, bringing in guys like Shaedon Sharpe, Josh Hart, obviously getting healthy, having Dame Lillard back. Josh Hart's in for a big year, and if the Portland Trailblazers can make some damage, if they can make it to the playoffs and potentially, make it past the first round, I think Josh Hart is in for a big, big payday. He has a player option for $12.9 million next season. If he plays well this year, he is in for a significant pay raise. So keep an eye on Josh Hart and the Portland Trailblazers. Next up is Dillon Brooks, famous or infamous for injuring Gary Payton last year in the NBA playoffs. Dillon Brooks and the Memphis Grizzlies are prized for a big season, especially if they can remain healthy. This article goes on to discuss the Chris Middleton deal, and if he resigns with the Milwaukee Bucks, if Andrew Wiggins gets a big contract with the Warriors, what this could mean for Dillon Brooks. He's definitely played exceptionally well, and he seemed to get better every single year. So depending on how Dillon Brooks does this year, what happens with Middleton and Wiggins and the Grizzlies, Dillon Brooks could also be in for a big payday. All right, let's wrap up the show here talking about some games we have today. We have a ton of games on the slate, 8 total games today. We have Atlanta taking on Cleveland, New York Knicks taking on the Pacers, the Hornets taking on the Sixers. Wow, there's a lot of games. We got the Pelicans taking on the Heat, the Nets taking on the Bucks, the Timberwolves and the Lakers, Kings, Suns. I'm watching that game for sure. And the Nuggets taking on the Clippers. Let's take a look at these games. So first off, Cleveland is favored by 2 in this game. It is a home game. You can look at the injury report here. Evan Mobley is currently day-to-day. He could potentially play in this game. And a bunch of other guys, right, all listed day-to-day. Preseason's tough, right? You don't want injuries to happen to players. You don't want to push guys out there if they're not feeling 100%. But at the same time, this isn't the regular season. This is kind of a warm-up. This is, getting ready for the regular season. So you definitely want to see some guys out there. This is an interesting game. I expect to see these two teams meet in the playoffs this year. I love what Atlanta did this offseason, and I love what Cleveland did as well. These two teams are both shooting for the fences. I don't expect either to win the title this year. However, I think they will be a very competitive team, and I expect them to be in the playoffs. So we will see. All right, let's talk about this Knicks-Pacers game. Knicks are on the road here visiting Indiana. They are favored by 4.5 on this game. Quentin Grimes is listed as day-to-day. Daniel Tice and Aaron Nesmith are both listed as day-to-day for the Pacers. We know the Pacers are not competing for anything this year other than a top draft pick. They're building around Tyrese Halliburton. What happens with Miles Turner and Buddy Hield is yet to be seen. Maybe they end up with the Lakers. But I like what the Knicks are doing. They've definitely, done kind of a quicker rebuild. They were able to sign a free agent this year, and they were able to re-sign one of their first-round draft picks, something they haven't done in a long time. So I like what the Knicks are building. This is an interesting game to watch if you're a Knicks fan. If you're a Pacers fan, good luck this season. All right, third game of the day, we have Charlotte. And it's unfortunate, right? LaMelo Ball is listed day-to-day for this. I do not think he will be available to play in this game. Charlotte has not won a single game here in the preseason. They've given up a ton of points, including over 30, I think, on 2 different occasions. Philadelphia is going in the opposite direction, right? They're 3-0. Joel Embiid is listed as day-to-day. Montrezl Harrell, who they picked up this offseason, who left the Charlotte Hornets, is listed as day-to-day as well. I expect Philadelphia to absolutely annihilate Charlotte, score probably 120 or 130 points in this game. Really, really unfortunate for MJ and the Charlotte Hornets. They just honestly can't catch a break here. All right, the next game of the day, we have the Pelicans taking on the Miami Heat in Miami. Pelicans are 3-0 this preseason, and the Heat are 3-1. Both teams win this game, in my opinion, because they're both in Miami. Miami is favored by 4.5. Jackson Hayes is listed as out. He's played pretty well this preseason. Guys like Dyson Daniels, Larry Nance Jr., C.J. McCollum, and Brandon Ingram are all listed as day-to-day. We have not seen C.J. McCollum or Brandon Ingram suit up. I expect both of them to play in this game and get ready for the regular season that starts next week. As far as the Miami Heat are concerned, Marcus Garrett is listed as out, and you have a few guys listed as day-to-day. I'm expecting this to be an exciting game to watch. Definitely tune in if you want to watch something exciting, because the Pelicans are going to be a surprise team this year, and the Miami Heat are the Miami Heat. So I think this will be an ultra competitive game, something that goes down to the wire, and I'm definitely keeping an eye on these two teams this season as far as making the playoffs and doing some damage. All right, the next game of the day, we have the Brooklyn Nets take on the Milwaukee Bucks. This is a back-to-back for the Milwaukee Bucks. However, we didn't see any of their starters play yesterday due to returning from Abu Dhabi. They could potentially play in this game. I know the NBA is probably pushing it. This game is on ESPN. The Bucks are favored by 3, and both teams have not won a single game this preseason. So somebody's getting a win in this game. Joe Harris is listed as day-to-day, so is Seth Curry. We'll probably see Kyrie Irving out there, Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons. And then as far as the Bucks go, I expect to see a bunch of these starters. They need to get some game action, and they need to get a win here going into the regular season. This is definitely a game I'm highlighting and something on my list to watch today for sure. All right, the second game of the day on ESPN is the Minnesota Timberwolves taking on the LA Lakers. Minnesota's 3-0, and Karl Anthony Towns just returned in their last game after dealing with that throat infection, where unfortunately he was bedridden and lost a bunch of weight. Rudy Gobert is listed as day-to-day in this game. And as far as the Lakers, you have LeBron, Westbrook, Beverly, and Troy Brown all listed as day-to-day. I expect all of these guys to play in this game. Hopefully we'll get to see this Gobert-Towns matchup. Hopefully we'll get to see Anthony Davis and LeBron James play in this game. As I mentioned, this game is nationally broadcast on ESPN, so the NBA does want people to play. This is an exciting game and could be a look ahead towards this season. I think Minnesota is going to be a much improved team, and obviously the Lakers, after missing the playoffs last season, are definitely on a mission to make it this year. So this is going to be a very, very competitive game. All right, my favorite game of the day has the undefeated 2-0 Sacramento Kings taking on the Phoenix Suns in Phoenix. The Suns are favored by 6 in this game. Keegan Murray and Rashawn Holmes are both listed as day-to-day. I expect both of them to play in this game. And then the Suns, you got Landry Shamet, Dario Saric, Josh Okogie, and Cam Johnson all listed as day-to-day. Phoenix, man, so much drama going on for them this offseason. It feels good to be a Kings fan at this point. You're basically the only team in this division that's not dealing with drama currently. The team is still for sale. We don't know who's going to buy them. We've heard many different names mentioned, but I'm sure that has some impact on the players here. This is going to be a competitive game. We'll see if Chris Paul plays in this game. He did not play well in the last one. I expect the Sacramento Kings to be out there in full force, working on rotations, working on lineups and different plays, getting ready for the regular season. This is a game I'm definitely keeping an eye on. And also, just want to remind you all, it is Wednesday, so Calvin and I will be doing a live post-game show on Royal Rebounds, kind of a brief one, and then we are live here on this channel for Wednesday night parties. If you have not already liked the video, make sure you hit that like button, and we'll be here 7 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. That's 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you got to stay up late if you're on the East Coast. But I know the Kings aren't favored in this game, but I'm a Kings fan. I'm going to take them beating the Suns in this game. All right, the final game of the day. This is the Denver Nuggets taking on the LA Clippers. Both of these teams dealing with a ton of injuries last season are both getting healthy. I'm excited to watch this game. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to see Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, John Wall out there. We're going to see Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, the Joker, and one of my favorite guys, Michael Carter Williams. Michael Porter Jr. in this game. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think this is going to be a good 3-point shooting game. We're going to get to see some defense, and obviously the Joker is always fun to watch. I'm interested to see how the Clippers are going to be able to guard him inside. He's such a versatile center. He can pull the ball out, play a high post. He can shoot the three. He can work down inside. We'll see what the Clippers can do to try and slow down the Joker in this game. All right, that basically wraps up today's show. Hope you guys have a wonderful hump day. Make sure you watch some hoops today. Hit that like button down below. Please consider hitting that subscribe button. We'll see you tonight for Wednesday night parties, and I'll see you tomorrow morning on the morning show again. Thank you all for watching, and as always, don't forget to tip your bartender.